This is a video interview with Viktor Boehm, and he is a longtime Subud member from Germany, and he's been a national helper, international helper, and he's currently serving on the Susila Dharma, Susila Dharma chairman of Subud, Germany. I think I got all that right. Viktor, can we start by just telling us how you found and came into Subud?
Okay, it's a long time ago, now 62 years, and I'm born in Vienna and in the wartime, and at the end of the war, we have to move to Germany, to Bavaria, first 1 year, and then 1 year later to Wolfsburg, 46, with my parents who found a job in the Volkswagen company. And we lived at the Steimker Berg, which was a very important area for Subud later. And Steimker Berg is still the park hotel there. And actually in the next months, we have our 59th National Congress in this park hotel. And okay, I go there up, and there was a Subud house called Waldpfad. It was not a house, it was in the middle house, and Babak went there the first time. No, in Germany was the second time, and after the World Congress, the first World Congress in London, end of 1959. And he lived with a party there inside, including Hermine Rütz and also Henrike Ans and Leuthold Ulrich, his wife, and so on. And also Mr. Dr. Anwar Sakir was a translator, and also Bennett was there. But there I found the youth group Waldkreuze, it's called Wood Owls. And this was very, for me, very important, 1960. And there was Leuthold Aulich and Raphael Hartung and Heinrich Siegmund, and also Lawrence Fryer from England, a mathematician. And we built not far away from the Steimker Berg, 1 kilometer away in a valley, hut, where with fence around and a small river and nice meadows and deers and birds and foxes and so, and we had a very important time. And they were in Subud, and we had one big trip to near Salzburg and in the mountains of Bavaria, and lived there 3 weeks in a not a cottage, it was a forest hut, 3 weeks, and we get milk from the meadows, from the ladies there, and bought bread and porridge, and this was very touching me. And they were all in Subud and made Latihan, and I was 17, and 1 year later, at 62, I said, oh, I want also to be opened there. And it was 18 years. I was then opened in this famous Waldpfad, small house with Raphael Hartung and Peter Lendke, who was also in Chilandak, and also Azekin Alvin. He worked as an apprenticeship in the Hotz Volkswagen company. So I was then opened 62 and was a young man. After school, I went to the Volkswagen factory and made an apprenticeship in tool making for 3.5 years. And during this time, first time Baba came, when I saw him the first time, this was the third time in Germany, in 64. He came to the, oh yes, I forgot, we got the Forsthaus in 62 after the Waldfahrt and built this up. And after the Second World Congress in Briarcliff, we finished this house in autumn 63, and Leuthold Aulich and family moved in. And since that time, it was our base, this Forsthaus. And 64, 2 years later, Baba came with a party, and we made latte hand testing and in talks, of course. And Babak visited the Volkswagen factory, and also the border of Eastern Germany was very close, 10, 15 kilometers away. And a lot of people came, including Viktor Margolin. He was for 1 year in the Forsthaus and learned Germany and told Jewish jokes, of course. And Ronald Osborne came to this meeting 64, to the Babak's visit 64. Sharifin Horthy was also a young man there, and Francis von Kahler and Ludwig Barrett, and many people from France, from England. Sharifin Gardiner came, and Varindra, and from Scandinavia and Netherlands, USA, visit all the Babak in the Forsthaus. And 1 year later, it was founded North Germany and South Germany. And the first time Babak, 97, came to Planegg, was invited by Gruson, and in December, and they opened a lot of people, and John Bennett was also there, and he wrote his book in Munich concerning Subud, and he was also 69 there, but not 64. And in North and South Germany, they were together to Subud, Germany in 1965, finally. And my later father-in-law became the chairman, Leopold Kalina, and he served for 12 years for Subud, Germany, up to 77. And with Rainer Honig, Dr. Rainer Honig, they work very close together, and Hermine was secretary, and Henrik, the other one, and Roland Cadera, the treasurer, and also Peter Lenke. So this was 65, and 1 year later, or 2 years later, Papa came again to Germany, to the Forsthaus, first to Planegg, and she went to the Planegg is, by the way, near Munich. Nobody knows very precisely, in Bavaria. And they went to the highest mountains one day in the Zugspitze. And at that time, Usman was a translator. And they came then to Germany. And this was a very important thing. We made the first maypole dance around with young people, and Babak was there, and we had cultural things. And at that time, I was for 3 years in Hamburg. End of 64, I finished with apprenticeship and started aeronautical engineering in Hamburg, but always came close to Germany. My parents lived in the Steimkerberg in Wolfsburg, and so I was often there. And 67, also Ivo Somari was there present, and many men from Chile was filming. And of course, also in Roland Cadera and Richard Hartmann, they made also films, and these films are still available, partly in the internet. And there came also 7 people from Israel, and Baba gave a special talk for them, and it was very unusual to go to Germany after the Second World War. And at least there was big harmony, and also many people came from all over the world. And as I told, I was in Hamburg, and in the first 4 years we had in the Bundesstraße, in the cellar, our Latihan, and 40 people we were, and we had musicians and 2 conductors, and we prepared what's called a record with 10 songs and guitar play from Leonard Renier and with Peter Schiffers zusammen with a flute. And this is available, this record, very nice. And our group, Hamburg, was very musician. And when Babak was in Wolfsburg, 97, we rented near the Rathaus, the town hall, the cultural hall, and made musicians, was singers and choirs, and a very intensive time was it. And Babak visited also the Volkswagen factory and the border again of Eastern Germany, so-called DDR. Yes, that was the time there, and I studied then physics later in Hamburg, and we found our Subud house in Jener Seite Deich. That's on an island in Hamburg between the northern river of the Elbe and the southern river of the Elbe. There was this farmhouse, and we rented it from a lady, and for 25 years. Then we bought it later. And this was the next step. Babak wanted to visit also Hamburg, and he came 1970 there, and we built the barn there, and that Babak could give a talk, and we made also singing there, and he was there for 3 days, and Ibu Somari was there the last time present for 3 days in Hamburg, and 3 days went to Wolfsburg also. This was Babak made in Hamburg also a tour on the harbor and around tour with the Bakas, and so always we were singing and hiking and starting fasting in end of 68. In 69 also, and we were very intensive praying in groups, and then Babak told us, this you should not do together, you can pray alone, the Islamic prayers, but not in a group. That's not the custom of the Christianity, he says. And so this was then just 1 year before the World Congress, 71. Preparation gave there, we was hiking and fasting, walks in the morning to the harbor and so on. And I found my girlfriend there, which I married 5 years later. She was au pair girl in Hamburg, and at the Subud family. Pardon?
What is the name of your girlfriend?
Lucia Boehm now. At the time, Kalina, and we married at end of 75 after the World Congress. Always young people had to test to marry, but as we said then, or I said, I have not to test. It's clear for me. Okay, that's another story. 71, we prepared this World Congress, and was a real, we built out the Subud House Hamburg, is a big barn house, and with a so-called Diele, where we made latihans, and there people came we prepared this World Congress, flown with a rented plane, SAS from Scandinavia, and 150 people from mainly Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We went to this fourth World Congress in Jakarta, Cilandak, and were very welcomed by Bapak and all the people who prepared things. And the bamboo houses were built by Ramsey Winkler from Germany. He was also in the beginning of the 60s there and found his wife in Wolfsburg, and she was close in Steimkerberg, 100 meter opposite to my house. And Lilian Cadera was his sister, and she both are still alive. One is 85, the other is 87, and the husband Ramsey died just this year with 98 years. And he built not only these bamboo houses, but also Babak's house. After Briarcliff Congress, Babak told him he should come to Cilandak and build his house with Rahmani Pope together. And at least he was living in Cilandak a long, long time. Yes, and for me, it was the first flight at all. And then so long way up to Jakarta, it was really amazing. And we had performances from Indonesia, from Wayang up to Wayang Orang. And there was America Day, and Baba gave 10 or 12 talks. And this was, and I lived in this one of the bamboo house as bachelor, and three cottage of 3 places, 3 men's, and with a bathroom beside, and so. And at that time, Cilandak was really there was a fox, the animals there, and was rice fields, and so it was a big time. And of course, we caught this. Sometimes you get problems with the stomach. It was not used all this food, and sometimes it was very hard to go to the talk and very quickly to the toilet. Yes, it was things. And yes, we made also once we stood there, I think, 5 weeks in Cilandak or Indonesia, and 3 days we went to Bandung and Yogyakarta, Semarang, and around. We made a round trip with 4 buses from German people, and yes, and all had fun. We had our costumes there, and you made a photo of this, and there are several available also in the internet. And I think we were 2,500 people in that time. And during this Congress, Richard Engels and Linhard Berger and Roland Cadera, Hermine Rutz and Henrike Ans got the job for ISC for the next 4 years, and we should prepare the World Congress in Wolfsburg, Wendhausen. And Wendhausen is a water castle near Wolfsburg, 25 kilometers away in direction to Brunswick. And there they made intensive ISC work, and people also came to the so-called Rambach camps. There was one in 73, the Morgensonne, morning sun, and 1 year later, the blue flower. And yes, I do not know if you have been there, but at least you were then 1 year later in the World Congress in Wolfsburg and Wendhausen and the water castle. We rented this even in 1917, and Lawrence Pless was one of the men, and He's now in Santa Barbara in USA. And Reinhard Hesse, he is living in Los Angeles, and he was my youth companion. And yeah, 75, then we get from the Volkswagen factory the village. There was Italian workers worked for the Volkswagen factory, and they built their houses, but they were empty, and there were maybe 10 long houses were refurbished and done very well, where people from around the world could sleep and have a good time. And this was not far away from the castle Alt Wolfsburg, and behind is a Forsthaus. And maybe you remember also the Café Cadera. Um, Rahman, you know Café Cadera?
I don't remember.
But at least as one of the Subud members, they made very good cakes and coffee, of course, and bread. And so a lot of people went there. Yes, and I forgot also Varindra was in the Forsthaus in the 66. He came with a daughter alone, and end of the year with a family, and was relative often in Wolfsburg, Varindra. But and Babak celebrated in the water castle Wendhausen his 74th birthday on the 22nd of June 1975. And we made before a train trip from Rottgesbüttel to Wendhausen. I think this you remember.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Americans and groups from Scandinavia, from Portugal, and so on. And then we moved to Wendhausen, maybe 20 kilometers with train trip, and with also accident and shooting and so. And finally, with all the dresses, we came to Babak's birthday in the Wendhausen, the castle, and every group presented something to Babak, and it was a sunny, very nice day in the 75. And then this was a break then for Subud, Germany, or Wolfsburg especially, when ISC stepped down and just went to Canada, to what's called his name. He got it in, I think in Toronto, his job as ISC chair, and Varindra was still long-time WSA chairperson up to Anukra Amanaser, 93 years. And so I participated on 9 visits of Babak in Germany, and from 11. And we made also posters. I can send you later maybe 1 or 2 we prepared for Freiburg Congress in 2018, and there are a lot of pictures always in, and is Babak, and okay, and so, but Babak came 76, 77, each 1 year later to Germany, and wanted to see how it's maybe going on with us. And but it's changed, of course. There was a break between the Wolfsburg group, the one who was very intensive around Richard Engels and Hermine, and the others who wanted to have their own normal life. And of course, a lot of children were born, and at that time we had a youth group. I guided the youth group 6 years in Hamburg, the so-called Sturmvögel, and many of them came to Subud, met Latihan, and it was a very, very intensive time. And I did my way further, made my PhD in laser physics, and before, at the beginning of the 70s, even astrophysics at the observatory in Bergedorf in Hamburg. And so I had no break. I always could do my things for education. And 77, I was finished. And this was the time I asked Babak the only questions in Hamburg, 77. I asked if I should stay in the research or go more to the industry. And Sharif Horty translated this, and Babak gave a reply, and he says, maybe it's better at the moment to stay in the research, and I will find the way when it's time to go through the industries. And then he said, additionally, Babak says, and he knows that I'm very quick in getting things to understand things, and maybe one time you can find the secrets of the moon. But later on, I made remote sensing in Kalimantan. I went a lot of times to Indonesia later, and there I flown over Bapak Samp also with a helicopter and laser scanning system and high resolution cameras. And I think I got the secrets of at least Bapak Samp.
And what was that secret?
Yes, it's there's tall trees, a hill, and some holes in the hill, and it's a very nice natural area. And you know, Manso Geiger and others wanted to find gold and copper and silver, but they found it, but not digged it out, and it's still inside. Maybe it's good it's still inside in the nature of Kalimantan. And in Kalimantan, one thing to this, there's a lot of tropical peat, completely different things with a size of 15 meters up, yeah, and from one river to the other. And this has stored a lot of CO2s and release black water into the rivers. And this is very important to to not to use the forest and to preserve these areas. And it's around Bungansari, not far away.
Yeah. So getting back to your beginning,
yeah,
you were in a youth group, and several of the people in the youth group were already in Subud.
Yes. Yes, the first 2 years I was not in Subud because I was too young. And but I told that the older people were in Subud, and they was a completely new life for me. We made cultural things, reports, and walking through the nature. And actually, I was not somebody like other people who was searching something. Yes, it was a normal way to come to Subud. Yes, and this was Lord Aulich. He died last year with 94 years. Was one of my famous teacher, maybe. And he was a pupil of Richard Engels. But Richard Engels, he founded this Wood Owls. But Richard looked then after the Subud group in Wolfsburg, and the people and not anymore too intensive for the use for the youth group. Yes.
So how was your opening?
It was at least in the cellar. In Germany, would say Luftschutzkeller. What's in English? Against bombs in the cellar. It was protected cellar, yes. And yes, it was, as I told Azukin and Peter Lenke and Raphael. I remember it was very quickly when the time. I could not say that I immediately start something, but I felt something, yes. That's my remembering. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. So when did you start feeling something in your Latihan?
Actually, always. I started immediately. I had not big problems of life before, and always Babak said, first is cleansing in the Latihan, and then maybe sometimes it's coming receiving, even if it's the last minute only. Yes, and so
What
I'm
about
not
you?
thinking too much about this, and for me, is to do the Latihan and put then the things into the praxis to that you Subud in life. Yes, and that's important for me. And always in my life, I have forgotten to tell you that I was later in the industry than with helicopter business. I worked 26 years here in Munich, and I went minimum 10 times to America to give talks and presentation about sensoric systems for helicopters and cockpit design and night vision techniques and night vision goggles and flare systems and so. But this is another thing. Yeah.
So do you have any experiences connected with Bapak?
Yes, this as the one I told you, I saw Babak 64 to 84, 20 years. I was lucky. The last time, 2084, it was in Indonesia. There was a WSC meeting, I think, and at Vijoyo building. And there I saw the last time Babak. And Babak always told us to stand on your own feet. And this was for me important. I said, yes, we have not to follow Babak. We have to stand on our own feet. Nevertheless, the guidance of Babak is very important, and I heard many talks, and so maybe something is inside growing, yes, and I cannot describe this, yes. It's not too easy. And another occasion was I was lucky again back in Wolfsburg in the Forst House 67. There was celebrated the birthday of Pak Usman, end of March, and he just arrived in Wolfsburg Forst House in the evening from Planegg, from Munich to Wolfsburg. It was celebrated. And I wanted to go with Valentin Willicke and his wife home to our house to sleep there, but somebody put his car. It was a DG2, and a car from France, and was standing in the ditch, and we couldn't go home. And then we went to the back to the 50 meters to the Forst House, and somebody said, come in, be quiet, and we're celebrating Pak Usman's birthday. And so we were inside. We saw then videos from India and slides also, and get this famous Cadera cake and ice, and so, and looking there, and we are sitting up to 12 o'clock in the night, and suddenly somebody was snoring, and was thinking, who is snoring in Babak's presence? And finally we looked around, it was Babak himself. And somebody told us Babak never sleeps, and it's completely lie, yes. And so this was also Leonard Berger told the same story in one of his interviews, yes. He was present, and so, yeah, that was the occasion. And of course, in Ramadan, we made Sungkum, and at the end of the Ramadan, and so this things, if you ask by not impression, by what I remember on Babak. Yes, of course, in the beginning he tested 64. This I remember. how it was 500,000 years ago here, and get a feeling about this. Or can you speak A, B, C? Okay. And then can you laugh? How you laugh with a child? How you laugh when you were 16 or 18? And how you laugh with 20? And how you are laughing now? Yes, this was very good. Yes. And you asked, could I receive this? Some things, not all words, maybe C I couldn't speak or so, but the other things, and the laughing was quite okay. So uh, at least I feel normal and not something special, and I'm very thankful that I can do everything and in my life and with my family, and we got 4 children, and now we have 7 grandchildren, and always very lively. They are quite. We had birthday on Sunday from one of them, 14 years old, and they get a dog. Oh, that's life, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 4 children also and 5 grandchildren.
Oh, yeah. Very, very good. They are maybe also all at the 50s, yeah, your children.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, go ahead.
of course, there were then the World Congresses. I was also saying, come to Subud and you learn to know the world. Yes. I went to all Subud events, and so it was always getting a lot of information. The next was in Toronto in '97. We went with 3 others, went before to the Algonquin Park, and there was the canoeing for 10 days, and then came the World Congress. It was also in Ramadan time. There we were a little bit lazy. We were not fasting too much. It was in Scarborough, in Toronto, and Babak felt also not so well, I think, at that occasion. But and then my wife was not there because we expecting the second daughter. She came a little bit later, and '83 was then in Anugraha. We went all there's not so far away from us with the hearing the planes, and Babak said it's only 17 years you can come to Subud, and founded Sika and SDIA things and youth. And Viktor Margolin was there also present, and of course Richard Engels and what is her Dima Tarantino also made this Sika, and Wilbert van Heen, SDIA. And then the next was Babak died, 97, and 99. We had the World Congress in Sydney. You have been there, yeah?
Yeah.
And I have not many photos of this. If you have something, can share something, it would be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so tell me, how did you feel when you got the word that Babak had passed on?
Again?
How did you feel when you heard that Babak had passed?
It was, I just heard this on the 22nd, 3rd of June 1997. I flown from Paris with my wife to Munich, and I heard this and I said, oh, I thought Babak would become 110 years, and finally only 86 years, yes. And so something changed, of course. Not much, but I was a little bit sad from the outside, yes. And on the other side, Babak says, okay, it continues, and you should not be too sad about these things. And so we moved then. Yes, the next time was when my wife was international helper. We went 95 to Chilandak for WC meeting and also to Babak's grave there. And I went there even, yes, with Ridwan Dobson and Harris Haw to this. And I do not normally, I'm not so sensitive, but when I was there inside, really tears came up in the pendopo there, where Babak was laying with all the people around him, and so, and yes, it was very special, and I get a lot of what's called for Indonesia, my love for Indonesia, and I went there in the meantime, minimum, I think 60 times for also my research there for peat, for tropical peat. And we get contracts from Netherlands, from the University of Palangkaraya and from the, Japan. And so, and work together with scientists from all over the world. Yes. And this was very important for me. And so I'm connected with the people who are living in Wismar Subud. The last big meeting was, of course, now World Congress, but before the COVID things in 89, 2008, 19. So there was also WC meeting in Adipuri, and also we celebrated Ibu's birthday, the 80s, 2008 in Chiland, in Pamulang, and to Kalimantan. And I had a very close connection with Ibu Rahayu, and she gave me also an award that I have worked in Kalimantan and for YMS, and I met her in her house many times, and also with Ibu Yati and with Ibu Ismana, of course. And now ISTI, my wife is working now again with ISTI together in the zonal area, 2 international helpers from 24 to 28. And I think we will all meet again in Portugal, in Fatima. And so, yeah, it's too long time to explain the details. And also Ibu Rahayu, I was in Palangkaraya once in a Dandantingan hotel. Babak went there in 1980 in November, when he was once in Kalimantan, but this was then 15 years later, 95. And at that time, they had not ATMs or so in the hotel, and I had not enough money. 500,000 rupiah was missing, and Ibu Rahayu asked me. I didn't ask her and said, "Do you need money?" I said, "Yes, yes," and she gave me money, this 500,000, so that I could pay. I went to East Kalimantan for research and came back and went then to Chilandak and give her the money back, of course, yes. This was only one example, but she's so normal. In 2000, there was the inauguration of the MSc building with a cow head in the ground, and to build the pendopo. And it was Babak's birthday, 22nd of June, and there was a rice mountain. She cut it, and the Latihan Hall in Rungansari, and it was so normal. And she looked for everything, every details, and so it was great. And on the other side, she gave the talks as similar as Babak, and was so clear and helpful for the life. She was closer to me than Babak. Yes, Babak was always a little bit, not distance, but yes, we had more respect, yes. Okay. And, again, I'm very lucky to saw Babak and even Ivo Rahayu, and many people never saw Babak. Of course, the Latihan is there, and it's you need not Babak for this, but it's good to see him before. So that's my story in a short time, even not in 1 hour.
Well, a lot of history got covered there. Did you go to the World Congress just recently in Kalimantan?
Yes, of course. We have, by the way, a house in Rungansari, my wife and myself, and a double house, and there is living W's VCOT manager Rusty Bustillo downstairs, and we upstairs, and I rented out downstairs, and upstairs we went there, and my wife was there, and our daughter Anita Chora, she's osteopath, and she had to get a lot of connections and with people in that area, working in Siha area, and also Rita Ockford, who as vice chair of Subud Germany at the moment, came to us. She was very ill at that time. Maybe the purification, or if you are ill, what's always told it is purification. And okay, and yes, and we had in Kalimantan. This was split in two areas in near Palangkaraya for 7 days in the Swiss Bell Hotel, and 4 days in Rongansari. And when we heard this half a year or a year before, we were very disappointed why we are not doing it in Rongansari. But I think I learned later the government didn't wanted to have it in Rongansari only because we had not enough accommodation levels and also not big halls for Latihan. But it went very well, better than I thought. Really, I thought first, oh, I will not go to Palangkaraya, but I bought the meal tickets, so I had to go every day there and reported everything. It's very close, and all my information are in Google Photos inside. I think you do the same, yes? Google Photo?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Google Photos. Yeah.
Yes, and there are all things present. If somebody want to have it later on, can really look inside with all the visits of Babak, and of course also with the family and some private things, but we have to put it out. And when I finish with Susila Dharma work, I will work more for archive work with Daniela and with Humphrey Williams now. So, and also Rashida Pope, and so, and that's my intention. By the way, I told you I'm working for Susila Dharma Germany, and we get projects from the government. We made what's called proposals, and the government looks to this, and especially now in Kalimantan, in 10 days I go to, not Kalimantan, to Congo. We had clinics there, one big things. I worked there since 9 years, and this is, I think, maybe the last one we finished for pediatrics in Kinantoko and in Kinshasa, and two more away. One, it's Nikandu and Tirui Madimba, and with Virginia Thomas, we are working together, and she has done the Canadian project with the education, and we are doing the clinic things. And yes, finally for the World Congress, we could stay then 10 days longer. So to cool down from the World Congress and digest everything. And there was also a wedding there, and also a final Thanksgiving Latihan at a Sunday at the beginning of August, and there were a lot pictures of at a bridge over the river to the MSC, and from Björn Vaughan, and so many things happen there, and you cannot you get perhaps from a congress only something which where you are in. Others see other things. Oh, I have never seen this was on the congress. You couldn't believe, yes. And I wait for the film, who maybe is done by the son of Latif Vogel and Aswin Vogel, I think, and his team, and they're not alone, yes. And hopefully it's coming there. For Freiburg was done by Heinz Cadera. I do not know if you have seen this video. Very nice one.
So this was a film that they did in Kalimantan?
No, yes, but it's not available at the moment. It's a lot of footage, and they have to put it together. I have to ask when it's finished. Yes, and this Congress in Kalimantan were 1,200 people, not too many, but at least was good. Also young people, and always are saying, oh, we are all growing older. That's true, of course. But there in Rungansari are a lot of young people, and they made their enterprises there. Work, and they are busy, you know, the BCU school and the Borneo football things and the Yum agroforestry projects, so other Yum projects, and YTS from Bad of Paul. It's a lot really going on there. It's very lively.
That's good. Good to hear that.
Of course, in every places you are fighting always a little bit with money to get enough money. In former time, we had more rich people in Subud, but they are leaving us.
Yeah.
Like Simon Garin and so. And I do also a project now with Gary Thompson and with Amneser, so-called Here Stella Paz project. We had done one in 2 years ago in Amneser with 40 ladies who get education about peace and good life, to educate, that they learn things of life. And now we do another one. We are just handing in the proposal or working on this, and hopefully get a 16 months project again in Amneser.
This is for Susila Dharma.
Yes, Susila Dharma Germany with GHFP together and with ICDP, child education, started with Ruckmann Hunheide in the 90s and Henning Ray. And yes, it's still a lot of energy is still in.
Yeah.
And others of our group is working with India, with Anisha project, with the rural center and the kitchen garden things for the schools. And so that's things to put Latian into the praxis for me.
Do you have much memories of Richard Ingalls?
Of course, yes. He was the founder of this Wood Owls, Waldkreuze, even in 1949, and they went as the young people, young men to Africa. At that time, it was Algeria and Hoggar Mountains and so on, and also later to Scandinavia, to Austria, and even 58 to Luton and to Coombe Springs, where 7 of them were opened in 58, and it came beside Planek Munich with Ruth Großan came to Wolfsburg, and there was the education. And I told you, Richard Engels was not anymore leading this wood owls, was Lothar Aulich. But I met him always, Latti Hans, in Wolfsburg from 62 up to 75, and even later he came visit us in Munich. Later, we are living now in Munich since 45 years, and but he passed away in 91, and so, and Hermine lived in Schillerdack and was also very close and to us, and I know them all. And Linhard Berger, he left us 2 years ago, but his wife is still there in Berlin, Potsdam, and with family. By the way, the son get the Oscar for Invest Nichts Neues, a film last year, or even 4 Oscars they get. So a lot of good developments in Subud. And Hermine and Richard, of course, it was a little bit intensive. They lived in the evenings. They went a very long time together and reading talks and Vajang and many, many other things. And they had to go next days to the job, to the work, yes. And also the children, the young children growing up, they said later, you had not much time, the parents, you had not much time for us, and so, but nevertheless, they have all connection to Subud, and it was a very, very intensive time. Even at Easter time or Pentecost, we were together, of course, New Year and Christmas, and we had no private life at the time. Later on, yes, but it was really, and also Carnival, we celebrated together. It was a complete own life, and the Russian village we made at the end of the 60s, and yeah. And many of American was also there, yes, and saw this and found it that time good. And Richard Osborne, Reynold Orchard, he's from US. I met him also. He's becoming now this or next month 80. He came as a young man to the Forest House when he get his education, I think, in Netherlands or Belgium.
You know, it was quite a thing back then. I think even people from our country came over and took part in that, what was going on over there.
This was the only time in 75 you were in Wolfsburg or in Germany?
I was there just that one time, and then in 2018, I went to the Congress there too.
Yeah, this one, and of course Innsbruck in 2005. The Innsbruck is very close to Germany. Maybe you landed in Munich or somewhere.
Yeah, I don't remember, but we were in Austria, and then again at the last World Congress in Germany in 2018.
Oh yes, Freiburg.
Yeah, Freiburg.
Was a very, very hot summer.
Oh yes, I remember that very well. There was no air conditioning in where we were staying.
Oh yeah, in the hotel or in the messe center? There was a hall too. This was a little bit climatized.
Yeah, I think we were in some kind of a hotel type place. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Some kind of thing. I can't remember. I just remember it was very hot in our room.
How far you are living away from Seattle?
I'm just across the what's called Puget Lake Washington. Lake
Oh yeah,
Washington.
yeah, yeah. Is Marston Gregory near to you, or is he the opposite side?
Oh, Marston, yeah, he's just very close.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Give him greetings again for me. I met him at the last Congress
yeah.
in Kalimantan. I was with family after Spokane in Seattle. From Spokane, we went there and hired a big camper, 13 feet big, with our family with 4 children. The eldest was 20 and the youngest something, 10 years. And we went, yes, to Mount Helen, St. Helen, and to Portland, and on the coast side, Lincoln or something, and then North California to the Redwoods. And that was very, very good, interesting. And then back to Seattle, went on the Space Needle and saw everything around then. And the Boeing company were not far away from our motel, and so, and then we flew back to Germany. It was I was never in Vancouver, but my wife was there with Rosanna Hille and other peoples, and so.
Do you have anything more you would like to say about your Subud experience?
I have to think. I mentioned it in general. My experience is that mostly everything which I start, I could finish. It was a result. It was never said no. And this is my experience. Yes. Maybe not spiritual things, and so maybe I have also this, but I cannot speak too much about this. That's not my nature to be too holy or so and so.
Yeah. So has it been a guide to your life?
Again,
Has it has the Subud experience been a guide to your life? You like follow testing and things about.
of course, yes. For instance, when I studied um, physics in 97 in Hamburg, I thought, oh, I want to study mathematics. And then we tested, and it was very clear to do it physics. And later on, I found out why. Yes, and I really be happy to about this things, and later also to continue as to make laser physics PhD. 74 tested this, and I get guidance from Subud people and this and that people. And actually, in 67, one of the Subud ladies in the group, an older one, Patricia Hecke, her husband was a professor in mathematics in the University of Hamburg, and she gave me a letter from Albert Einstein. It was from 1920, written in Berlin, and he wanted to come to Hamburg and give a presentation about research things at the university, but also in the Volkshochschule. And he wrote in the written machine. I can show you the letter. Okay, no, not immediately, but this type machine, and he signed it with Albert Einstein. I still want to sell it. But I had not made a lot of effort for this. Maybe go to Princeton also, and this was a guide for me. This letter, and you see, 67 is also more than 50 years. I have it in my hand, and And yes, if you're asking experience, I not anymore test if I go to this and that. I feel this. I either I go or not. If it's unclear, then maybe I test it. Yes, it's true. Sometimes things are unclear.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any more questions. If you have anything else you'd like to say, but
Yes,
otherwise,
thank you. Thank you, Rahman, for the interview. I think we're very close. Even we have not met before. I saw you before, but we have not spoken before.
yeah.
And I wish you and your wife and your family also everything, all the best. And please keep healthy and make your photos. And we should exchange a little bit of photos and help Daniela Moneta to store everything in the archive.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm
Thank
going to
you.
stop the recording now. If I can figure out how to do that.
One last question. Sachlan Capital, how far it is away from you?
Who?
Sachlan Capital, how it's spelled?
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the other side of the country.
Oh yeah. But he was at the Congress in Vancouver, I think, in June.
Yes, he was at the gathering. There was a gathering there.
A gathering was yeah. And Lucas Hille was playing guitar, and also Lukman Pensene gave interview. I met Lukman also in Kalimantan.